Hey y'all, hey, it's Dr. Rochelle. And so today is the third tip on how to navigate the holidays, your family, and your child with special needs. And so today we're going to talk about food, right? Because people feel some kind of way when you don't eat their food. It's like you're saying, I don't like you, right? And so, although in the first video we talked about having in a conversation with your family and talking to them about how the disability shows up and what that looks like, this is a separate issue, I believe, because people take so much pride in preparing food, and there's just so much around food. Like if you need to eat all your food, you don't need to waste your food. It's just the whole thing. So I think it needs to be a separate conversation. So in the first video, the first tip was to just have a conversation with your family about your child having a disability and what that looks like. The second tip was to talk to the kids in your family, especially if you have kids around the same age as your child that has special needs, so they can just have a good understanding of some of the differences and your child doesn't have to feel ostracized. And today we're talking about food. So if your child has a food aversion or they are a very picky eater, they're not going to eat all the things, that probably should be a conversation that you have with your family and just talking about what that looks like. You know, my child is a picky eater. They don't eat all the things. They don't eat textured food. They don't eat this. They don't eat that. They will eat this. I don't want you to be offended or feel some kind of way because my child is not eating, or maybe they're not eating at all, or my child is not eating. And so just having that conversation, and you really have to have it with a lot of times it's who's ever preparing the food and maybe whose house it is, but it's also the people around, because I tell you, food is a thing. And so just having a conversation with family about the food, like they're not going to eat, they're very particular. As a matter of fact, maybe you want to bring food that you know that they like and they'll eat. And so maybe it doesn't even have to be a big grandiose conversation. You can just say, hey, my child is a picky eater, so I have prepared food separately for him to make sure that he's eating and that he likes what he's eating because he's a picky eater. And so that would probably be the best solution if you prepare the food or bring the snacks or what have you. And then when the question is asked is, oh, he's a picky eater, and I'm saying him just because, all things boys, right? And not to say if you have a daughter, same thing applies, that has special needs. So just, preparing something separately for your child, bringing snacks for your child, specifically if they have a food aversion. And then if you're not going to do that, make sure you have a conversation with the people in your family so that they know that, your child is a picky eater. They're not going to be eating all the things. It's not a good idea to ask them about the different foods. So that's why you want to have a conversation about the food before the food before you start serving the food, before the food comes out, just so that it doesn't become this big thing. Because, Thanksgiving for a lot of families is about eating, and it's about food, and it's about, and then it becomes this contentious. It can become contentious when, kids aren't eating, maybe you have a separate table for the kids and it's a big thing. So I say prepare your own food or your own snacks for your child, or if you're not going to do that, just have a conversation with the people that would have something to say about your child not eating their food, not eating all the food, not eating certain types of food, but just to ensure that the holiday is a good one for everyone involved. Talk about food specifically. And this is for a child who has autism, for a child that has ADHD, because it could be for a child who just has sensory, who has some sensory issues and is a very very picky eater. So it doesn't really matter necessarily, it's not about the disability condition. It's more so about your child. And if your child has these kinds of things, and you might could apply this even if your child does not have a disability, because kids can be finicky and picky, and food is a big deal. And so just to keep confusion down, have the conversation or prepare separate food and snacks for the child. And so again, but let the family know, because, that can be a thing too. Oh, he can't eat what we eating. No, he's just particular. She's just particular. So I have prepared something separately that I know that they will eat. And yeah, so if you have questions or comments, let me know down below. But most of all, I hope that you all have a great Thanksgiving and holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday with your family at holiday time and with your child that has special needs. Until next time.